you get to do it. Then I retire.
Well,
And you'll be able to brag about that. I was there, and you guys too. So good for you.
I am honored.
All right. So yeah, everybody.
Come on up. Come on up.
Just make yourself comfortable, and whenever you're ready, sir. Are you going up?
Yep.
Take this off.
Yeah.
It's been on TV. You guys
Come in
good?
nice and tight. Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks. Go ahead, sir.
Well, good afternoon. Bonjour à tous. Je suis Charlie Angus, député fédéral de Timmins Bay James, and we are on the unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation, and that needs to be made very clear. We're here today with Chief Casey Ratt from Barriere Lake, Tony Wawadi as well, Sherry Pasternak, who led a human rights delegation to Barriere Lake. I'll open with a few remarks, and then I'll turn it over to the Chief. J'ai travaillé avec les Algonquins de lac Barriere plusieurs années. Je suis perturbé que les pauvretés et les manques de développement continuent année après année à cause de l'interférence du gouvernement fédéral dans ces communautés. La situation qui existe maintenant avec un gérant qui contrôle les décisions de lac Barriere sans obligation de transparence est scandaleuse. Imaginez si le gouvernement fédéral prenait contrôle d'une municipalité de Blanc et donnait tout le contrôle à un gérant qui n'avait pas l'obligation d'expliquer ses décisions avec les gens. C'est impossible d'imaginer. Mais cette situation est normale dans le bureau des affaires autochtones et Mme Bennett doit s'expliquer. Il sait qu'il y a beaucoup de problèmes avec l'utilisation des systèmes des gérants. Les vérificateurs généraux ont dénoncé les manques de crédibilité de ce système-là. Donc, pourquoi le bureau continue de bloquer le développement de cette communauté? Le gérant a reçu un salaire plus que $500,000. Ce n'est pas acceptable. I've worked for many years in the community of Barriere Lake, and I'm appalled that after so many years, this community remains in such a dire condition of poverty, that this government would be willing to spend over $500,000 a year on a third-party management that has a complete control over what this community can and cannot do, when they built 0 houses over the last 11 years in that community, where we have a school that's been condemned for years. I'm shocked to think that a third-party manager who makes more money than the Prime Minister of Canada doesn't feel that he has an obligation to work for the people, with the people, to resolve their issues. And unfortunately, this is considered perfectly normal within the Department of Indian Affairs. This is the colonial structure that is interfering and undermining the development of community after community in this nation by the actions of the federal government. I asked Mme Bennett to explain how you can have a nation-to-nation relationship in 2017 when she supports the utilization of these third-party managers. We have, in another community, we have a manager who's been accused of fraud, and yet he's on Indian Affairs' preferred list of hires. This lack of accountability, this lack of transparency has to end. This community has suffered long enough. They paid more than their fair share. We need a commitment from this government to work with the people of Barriere Lake to build a better future for the children and for the community. They deserve it. They paid more than their share. So we're calling on Mme Bennett to show some respect and to work with this community to alleviate this situation. I'll turn it over to Chief Ratt.
Thank you, Chuck. My name is Casey Ratt, Chief of the Algonquins of Barriere Lake. Our community has been in a third-party management system for 11 years now, since 2006. And since 2006, the control has always been by the third-party managers in every aspect of our community, from essential services to programs and services to even simple projects. They have to have a say whether it's a go or not. Now, for us, we've been struggling with this third-party management system for so long now that, we have not been able to put nothing in place for a very long time. That would be good for our community, because every available dollars, flexible amount of dollars goes to the TPM to pay their fees. Now this is outrageous, and it has to stop. We know how to control our finances. We know how to get out of TPM, but it's the way they want us. It's a way to control our First Nation, and this is totally for us unacceptable. In the past years, we had third-party managers request an amount of $100,000 on behalf of ABL to cover their deficits. And for me to find out only 2-3 months after that they have used ABL to request funding to cover their deficit. What does this tell you? It tells me that third-party management system does not work in anywhere. It doesn't work in ABL. It won't work across the country. So we need something in place for ABL, to get out of third-party management system. Yes, we are in a mediation process at the moment, but we are told, it is going to be a long process. But our community wants out immediately because it has been too long, far too long. And I will give it over to Tony to go into elaborate on these issues.
Good afternoon. My name is Tony Wawadi. I'm the interim Director General for the Algonquins of Barriere Lake. Just to maybe highlight some of the things that third-party manager was supposed to do was to have to provide us some advisory services. One of the things that we saw ourselves in, there was a big gap to get out of third-party management. There was no exit strategy. We focused on trying to build our capacity. I know when the election system was imposed on us, we had to jump into that bandwagon, so that the community was represented, the way the community should be run. We tried to have a strategic planning session with third-party manager at that time when Chief Rat got elected in 2012, just to try to get a handle of what kind of programs we're administering and to ensure that the activities are going to happen. So what happens there is that third-party managers will take the 10% right away, and they're going to pay themselves, and that has an impact on the delivery of our services and our activity that we try to bring out. So this lack of advisory services put us in a situation that was unbearable. It prevented the community from planning and knowing the budget of each program. The managers, were not able to carry out their activities. So TPM will earmark their fees in the beginning of the year, and whatever is left over is what we are able to work with, which they refer as flexible funding. An example that we're going to use is that we had this exercise with Health Canada, to go through the planning of our activities and to find out that later on a few months down the road that there was no monies. But meanwhile, we had done that exercise to plan for activities for our members. So as you can see, 11 years, we don't know what has happened within that time frame of 11 years. Sometimes we don't even know what the surplus is. We don't know what the deficit is. So there was no exit strategy on how to get out of third-party management. Every year, end of the fiscal year, everything was came out even. So there was some shuffling there, so that the books actually came out even. But in the reality is that it is ABL that loses out on the monies that we could do activities for. So it didn't allow us to help our members that are in need of essential services. So when third party takes 10% of BAN's funds, they are divided. Um, because of 10% of the BAN's funds are diverted into third party management fees, monies run dry for basic programs for the community annually. Under third party management for 11 years, we show surpluses, and it doesn't go to paying our deficit. We have never seen the accounts for how many is being moved around. So again, there was no exit strategy. It was until we took the initiative, to bring our managers, to have that exercise, to have a management action plan in place. And this is the things that we are trying to get out there to get to deal with, the situation to get out of third-party management. And I know that the Algonquins of Barriere Lake had an invitation by the Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs. They're doing a study on third-party management, which will likely be sent to INAC and AFN fiscal relations consultation process, and that will take another year. After 10 years of our community services are in a mess, the people want third-party management ended now, as the new fiscal year is starting in a week. Mind you, we are in federal court mediation, so it does limit us on what we want to share. So I know that we are living in poverty. We are living in an overcrowded situation, and I think that there is a memorandum of mutual intent that was signed by Canada to help rebuild our community, which took into account the housing situation, the expansion of the reserve, and hook up to the hydro grid. But before that can happen, we were supposed to have some kind of a spin-off of some sort, so that we were able to provide some kind of a training for the development of the community. So there had to be a plan in place for us to be able to pay for hydro. When you're 90% unemployed, the unemployment rate is that much, it's going to be pretty hard to charge our members for hydro. So you could see that that would have a strong negative impact on on our members. So we really need to visit the agreements that has been dishonored, and so that it's dusted off the shelf. So we need to bring that back, so that the future and the future to come, the children are coming, and there's great expectations for a better new community, a safe and secure community. So Chimigwech for listening to me. Thank you.